Hello viewer, welcome once again to this channel and thank you for coming back to this channel. Now, today I'd like to talk about my story. I'll talk a little bit about my story on how I came to be a beekeeper. From the word go, I wanted to be a farmer, but I didn't know what to do specifically. So when I left college, when I was done with my studies, I happened to be employed in a financial institution. I worked for a year and then resigned. That was in 2015. And I resigned so as to be able to keep guinea fowls. And this bug bit me because I was a wildlife management student and I wanted to find ways of turning it around to be a source of income. It was not viable economically, and so again I went back to employment. This time around I moved to another financial institution. I started working there. That was in 2016. While I was working here, I wanted to get some extra income. And so I ventured into poultry farming, and here I did broiler farming. It was good. And then later on I added on to another income, and that was photography and vegetable farming. I did these so as to generate some cash that would help me to be a better farmer. Yes, while I was doing this, I realized that yes, I was doing all this work, but then the money was never enough. I got to learn later on that there was a difference between creating wealth and working to get cash. Those were two things that were totally different. I'll talk about that later on in this channel, but today I'll specifically be talking about how I got into beekeeping. Now, how I got into beekeeping is that I needed an alternative source of income that would not interfere with my daytime job, because earlier on I was doing an online job courtesy of Ajira Digital. That was at night. During the day I was employed. I was as well keeping chicken, and that is broilers to be specific. And then I had vegetables as well. And so this one took a toll on me. I found out that I was working too hard, and yet I still did not have money in my pocket. Now I needed an alternative source of income that would rhyme with my daytime job, because at some point my performance at my daytime job was not good, simply because I was trying to focus on these other sources of income. And so I bumped into beekeeping. Now, in an attempt to start keeping bees, I had to look for information. I went to different agricultural offices, and whenever I went there, they referred me to other people, other officers, and it happened that these officers, none of them could come and help me start this beekeeping venture. And so I kept looking for information from the webs, from YouTube, just to get this information before I started. And so I also went to the agricultural shows, and as I started going to these agricultural shows, I started getting more and more information. Later on, as I was going through the webs, I learned about a farmer in Kisumu who happens to be my mentor in beekeeping. And so I had to visit him, and I remember I went there with one of my friends because this was a stranger. I knew nothing about him. I just read about him on the internet. And so I went to visit him together with my friend. We went there and found that he was really keeping bees. And from there, he told us a little bit about keeping bees and how keeping bees would change somebody's life. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And so I told him, I'll come back later on. At least I've seen you in person, and I know that you are a beekeeper, meaning if I come to you, you will be of assistance to me. From there, we talked about how I would secure my beehives, and from there, I got a small loan from my circle and bought 2 beehives from him. And these ones were Kenya top bar hives that I started with, because he told me, just start with these 2, because these 2 would help you learn more about keeping bees. And that is how I started keeping my bees. Later on, I bought 2 more hives from him, and I had 4 hives. From there onwards, I kept looking after the bees and learning more and more and more about keeping bees. Later on, I learned how to make my own hives and do most of the things that a beekeeper should do. And because of this challenge that I had of getting all the information on keeping bees, I have decided to start this channel to help anyone who would want to be a beekeeper, but the only interest they have is information. And so this channel is now dedicated to you who wants to be a beekeeper, and yet you don't have any information or knowledge on how to keep bees. Like or subscribe to this channel if it will educate you. Thank you.